Hey there, friends. Jeff Fritz here, and I'm back with another episode of C Sharp in the Cards. And this time, we're going to talk about text and strings. This is part one. We're going to have more about text and strings in the future. But to get us started, let's talk about strings and text. A string data type in C Sharp is a collection of characters that we're working with. And we learned about characters previously, and it kind of makes sense when we think about text. A block of text is a collection of characters. Sure. So we can declare strings in C Sharp with syntax like this: string player1 name, and we can initialize it with equals, and then inside double quotes, Jeff, or maybe Chris is our player2 there. Previously, we learned about the var keyword, so I can also use that to declare my player names. So I could say var player1 name is Jeff, var player2 name equals Chris, display player2 name, and there it is, the value Chris. That's pretty easy to follow, builds on what we learned last time. But let's start analyzing and working with the contents of our strings. Programmers always want to be able to grab parts of strings or take a look at what's going on inside the string or put together strings. So let's talk about some of those operations. If we want to grab just a part of a string, we can reach into that collection that makes up a string using the square brackets and just referencing a position inside that string. Now, when we use the square brackets to grab something by position, in C Sharp, those positions start with the value 0 and increment. So if I'm going to grab just the C off of the word clubs there, it's the 0th position. So I can say clubs initial is actually suit1 square bracket 0 end square bracket. And if I execute this code with Control Enter inside of Visual Studio Code, I get just the value C coming back for club's initial. And that makes sense because I only grabbed the 0th positioned character. Okay, well, what if I want to grab more characters? You can use the substring method to isolate and return text from a given position for a given length. So here we have my name, player1 equals Jeff Fritz, and I want to grab the characters from position 0 and the length of 4 characters. So if I do that using the substring, I get just the value Jeff. I can also omit that second argument and say, well, just grab the characters from this position through the end of the string. So I can do that again if I take player1 here and I say substring 5. So it'll go to position 5 and bring back all the characters through the end of the string. So I just get the word Fritz back. Okay, that works. And I can also analyze strings and look at things like the length of the string by just using the length parameter on the end of it. So if we define my hand of cards as 3H, 4H, it's the 3 of hearts and the 4 of hearts. Oh, I'm working towards a straight here. I can look at the length of that string by just saying player1 cards dot length, and it reports back that there are 4 characters in that string. Now, I can also look for the position of a character inside that string, position of a character or the position of another string inside of it by using the index of method. So maybe I have a hand here, 9H, 9D. Got a pair of 9s, 9 of hearts, 9 of diamonds. Do you have any hearts in that hand? So I can say next hand dot index of H, and it'll report back if there's any hearts and where that H character exists. It's at position 1. Remember, positions start from 0 index. So even though it's the second character in the string, it's actually position 1 because we start counting from 0. Now, what happens if index of doesn't find that character in the string? Maybe my third hand here is 7H, 8H, right? 7 of hearts, 8 of hearts. I'm working on another straight. I'm working on a straight flush here. Well, do you have any diamonds in that hand? I'll leave it to you to execute this block of text and see what index of returns if you request a value that isn't in that string. Now, of course, folks want to be able to modify strings. So maybe I have my name here, Jeff space Fritz, and I want to replace that space in there. Maybe I can only store contiguous characters here and no spaces are allowed. So let's replace that space with an underscore. And I use the replace method for that and specify the character to search or a string to search and what to replace it with. So find the space, replace it with an underscore, and I get Jeff underscore Fritz. Or maybe I want to replace a bigger string there. Maybe I want to search for Jeff and replace that with Bob, and I get Bob Fritz coming back. Okay, that makes it real easy to find content and replace it in a string. We can also remove content from our strings using the remove method. Now, remove takes a position and a length, just like we saw with substring. So if I have the text diamonds here, I can say remove from position 7 on, or remove from position 1 through the end of the string, or maybe go to position 2 and remove from position 2 that position in the next 5 characters by saying remove 2, 5. When we execute that, removing from position 7 on returns the value diamond, and removing from position 1 on just returns the value D. But 2 through position 5 gives me the word dis. Well, dis isn't really a word, but maybe there's a reason you want to remove that. I don't know. It's up to you to tinker with here and format that text the way that you want to. Now, we may also have some extra characters at the beginning and end of our strings that we want to clean up a little bit. So maybe I've got my suits here, clubs, diamonds, hearts, and spades in one string. And let's substring back the first 6 characters. And then we can trim off the spaces by using the trim method here with no arguments to remove any spaces at the beginning and end of that string. And I can use trim start or trim end to remove specific characters that I want to specify from the beginning and end of those strings appropriately. So maybe I want to trim off the S off the end of the string. So when I execute this, well, the first 6 characters, I get the word clubs here, and I've got a hidden space at the end. So I can clean that up and remove any extra spaces with the trim method, and I still get clubs being returned there, but my human eyes don't see that hidden space character. And trim end S removes that S off the end, so I just get the keyword club coming back. Okay, so we've learned how we can modify strings a little bit. What about combining strings? So we can combine strings quite easily using the plus operator, just like we saw for numbers. So I can combine strings like Jeff and Fritz here, combine somebody's first name and last name by just adding them together with other characters if I'd like a space in the middle here. So I can say first name plus space plus last name, and it will very easily return Jeff space Fritz. Now, I can concatenate together strings as well using the concat method on the string type, just like this. So maybe I've got 3 cards, a 2 of clubs, a 2 of diamonds, and a 2 of spades, and I've declared them with these 3 strings. Well, I can pass in any number of arguments separated by commas to the concat method, just like this, and say my hand equals string.concat, card 1, card 2, card 3, and display those results, and I get 2 of clubs, 2 of diamonds, 2 of spades as a string. Not bad. The concat allows me to do that. But there's another method that I want to show you using something called a string builder that's a little more efficient at putting together strings. So we can declare a string builder using this syntax, new string builder, and assign that to the variable called my hand. And I'll declare cards 4, 5, and 6 as the 8 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, and 8 of spades. Now, I build a string by appending values like you see here. My hand append card 4, card 5 and card 6. And I can then display those results by saying my hand to string, and I get the same value, 8 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 8 of spades being returned the same way if I had done a concat or a plus. The string builder is just a little bit more efficient with memory, and when you're dealing with larger strings, it can get a little bit more efficient when you're doing this frequently inside your code. All right, that's all the time I have for this episode of C# in the Cards, and this was only part 1 of working with strings. I hope you come back next time for part 2, where we're going to talk about literal strings and formatting strings and how we can interpolate strings as well. Make sure you click the subscribe button just below. Click that bell so you get notified the next time that there's an episode of C# in the Cards.